Hello students, today we will continue the chapter solid state and topic for the day will be types of cubic unit cell, or you can say types of unit cells. As we have discussed earlier that there are four kinds of unit cells. Before studying about these cells individually, let's study about the number of corners, number of faces and number of edges in a cube. There are 8 number of corners in a cubic unit cell. What are corners here? This is corner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. There are 8 corners. There are 8 corners in a unit cell or cubic unit cell. Number of faces, we have 6 faces in a cubic unit cell. What are faces? This is face. This is one first face. This is one face. This is face. This is a face. When you'll count all the faces, there are 6 faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. 5, this is 5. The front one is 5 and backwards 6. We have 6 faces in a cubic unit cell. As you can see, as you all know that it is same in a dice, Ludo dice. And number of edges, edges means this line is called edge. This is edge. This is edge of a cubic unit cell. This is edge. So we have, if you count all the edges here, we have 12 edges in a cubic unit cell. Number of corners are 8, number of faces are 6 and number of edges are 12. The first type of unit cell is simple unit cell. This is the picture of a simple unit cell. In simple unit cell, the constituent particles or the particles are at the corners. Only. So you can see here that constituent particles are at the 8 corners in a cubic unit cell. Therefore, it is called a simple unit cell or a primitive unit cell. In simple unit cell, particles are at the corners only. In face-centered unit cells, particles, as you can see here, the particles are at corners and at the faces too. We have 8 particles at the corner, 8 corners are involved and 6 faces. Particles are at the faces too. This is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5 and phase 6. This is the front one. Phase 6. We have corners at face-centered unit cell, or in face-centered unit cell, particles are at the corners and the faces. Particles are the corner and the faces too. In body-centered unit cell, particles are at the corners of the cube and one at the center of the cube. You can imagine a room in which there are 8 corners. So 8 particles at each of the corner and one big ball at the center of the room. This kind of structure is called body-centered unit cell, in which 8 corners and one center of the room or the unit cell is involved with particle in it. This is called body-centered cubic unit cell or body-centered unit cell. Last type of unit cell is end-centered unit cell. As you can see in this diagram, that 8 corners are involved and 2 faces are involved. So the particles are present at all the corners and at center of 2 opposite faces. Only 2 faces are involved in it and which are opposite to each other. You can also involve these 2 faces or these 2 faces. Any of the 2 faces which are opposite to each other in end-centered, 8 corners and 2 faces which are opposite to each other. Okay, so we have studied here that how the particles are arranged in unit cells. In your simple unit cell at the corners, in face center at the corners and at the faces, at the 6 faces, in body centered at the corner and at center of the body, and in end center at the corners and opposite 2 faces are involved which are opposite to each other. Okay, this is the topic for the day, but we have to study about the atoms per unit cell. How many atoms are inside a unit cell in our next video, and therefore this is for the day. Thank you.